Long one.
And that may be hard. And also, of course, we have this messy-looking process that the Democrats are trying to wamp up, kind of on the, on short notice, to create something that will look like a legitimate nominating process. It is the case that if there's no nominee or the nominee drops out, the delegates are free to vote their conscience under the rules of the Democratic Party. But remember, these are Biden delegates. They were chosen and elected to run to be delegates for the purpose of supporting Joe Biden. So where their support will go is anybody's guess. I guess it could be wide open. We could actually have, Mike, for the first time in many, many cycles, an open convention. Imagine that.
If Democrats try to go around the sitting vice president, does that create a massive fracture in their party?
Well, I think it would depend on who ends up winning to some extent, but I think she looks like the obvious choice. She's vice president. She is someone who was chosen by him, and also technically speaking, I think, Mike, when the delegates voted, they were voting for a ticket, and it was Biden-Harris. So she would be, one would imagine, the odds-on favorite to be the nominee, and it would be hard, I think, for these delegates to turn their back on a woman of color. And I think that's a choice the party would have to make. The problem for them, of course, is that she has shown great weakness in the polling, and might not give the Democrats much of a better chance than they'd have had with Biden, although Biden's senility was so screamingly obvious that it seems to me that he was basically crippled as a candidate.
We've heard talk in recent days, Britt, about the possibility of a mini primary. It is July 21st of an election year. Is there any time for that?
Well, there's some time, and presumably, if people step forward and run, there has to be some kind of competition. It wouldn't actually be a primary because we wouldn't have voters voting. We would have people that had been voted for as delegates being the audience for this little mini campaign done on a very foreshortened schedule.
Final thoughts, Britt, in terms of what this means to American politics. Usually these conventions are kind of pageants, if you will, for a particular party. It sounds like this may have some real practical politics taking place on the floor.
Yeah, this will be a convention more like the old ones when delegates showed up and they were heavily, party regulars, and you wouldn't know for sure who the nominee was going to be until the votes were taken. There have been conventions, I guess back in 1920, it was one that went to something like 100 ballots, and so that kind of thing has happened in the past. We haven't seen anything like that in many, many years. And Mike, where you're sitting and anchoring this broadcast right now, you're a witness to history, buddy. What we've seen the last couple of weeks is like something we didn't expect. We live in turbulent times, and now we're living in really turbulent times.
Amazing. Britt Hume, grateful to have your analysis, your decades of experience during this breaking news, historic breaking news on this Sunday. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate the analysis, sir.
Thank you, Mike.
Let's go back to my colleague, Kevin Cork in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Kevin, your thoughts as President Biden did not explicitly endorse his vice president to be essentially the Democratic nominee. What about that?
Yeah, very interesting decision. And I'd actually heard some conversation about this previously, this idea that, yes, for the first time in 56 years, an incumbent is not seeking re-election. What might that mean for the vice president? In this particular circumstance, you have to be honest about what they're dealing with. They're dealing with a relatively unpopular vice president. Now, does that mean the party apparatus can't build her up a little bit, maybe get some assistance from the fawning press, if you will? Yes, that certainly could happen. But when you get down to brass tacks, if it is to be Kamala Harris, it's going to be Kamala Harris against Donald Trump. How will that play effectively, if you'll pardon me for saying, in the 7 or 8 swing states where that really does matter? I can say this as well, and I do have some contacts on her team. There is this sense in the conversations that I've had before that they feel very confident that even if there's an open process at the convention, she will fare very, very well. They're that confident in her ability. The problem, though, with that bit of confidence, if I might posit, is it also sometimes ignores what they're saying out in the streets, if you will. Is she popular or isn't she? Now, let's be honest here, Mike. VPs rarely are popular. It's not like they're all waving flags for VPs. Harris. But if you have one that is decidedly unpopular, that really could affect the top of the ticket. We have to wait and step back and see. Does she get the nod at the convention? And if so, who is her VP pick? Maybe that person's decidedly more popular. Is it going to be an all-woman ticket? Might that really make things interesting in November? We simply don't know, but I can tell you this. The fact that the president decided not to specifically endorse his vice president speaks volumes about how he feels the party can best move forward, which is to have an open process come Chicago, Mike.
So, Kevin, we noticed when President Trump spoke at the Republican convention Thursday night, he told us he was not going to say the name Biden. He slipped a couple of times and Biden's name came out, but that seemed rather intentional, that the former president's preparing for whomever the Democrats put up. What about that?
Listen, one of the first things they teach in Politics 101 is prepare for all contingencies, and that means getting your oppo, your opposition research for anyone who might elevate and become the president. You do it during the campaign, certainly, but now that we're down to, say, 1, 2, maybe 4 people at the most who could possibly top this ticket, you would imagine that the Trump team has done copious amounts of research. I'm sure if you talk to them off the record, they will tell you they love the idea of taking on the Vice President Harris. But if you are also to talk to them again off the record, they might also say anytime it's not Biden, things can get a little bit more difficult, because if she comes out and has a great convention, if she comes out with a very strong message, I know she's been hitting the idea of abortion as a major topic for the election campaign. If she does well and really connects with women in particular, might that really knock the president off his perch? And in particular, when you look at some of these swing state polls, former President Trump's doing pretty well. Can Kamala Harris chip into that? We just don't know yet, because we don't know if she'll even ascend and be the standard bearer for this party moving forward.
All right, I want you to react to this breaking news now. President Biden saying, quote, "I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year." So not clear if whether they've been watching the coverage, seeing that, no endorsement. But there you have President Biden saying he fully supports and endorses her to be the Democratic nominee of the party this year.
Voila, had to do it. And I mentioned earlier, it's not just because she was voted on as part of this ticket. You know, millions of Americans who support the Democrats didn't just vote for, in the primaries, for Joe Biden. They voted for Biden-Harris. So in some senses, he almost had to do it. But as I mentioned to you earlier, if you were to bypass a top-ranked woman on the ticket for somebody else, a woman of color, as you heard our colleague Britt Hume mention, I just don't think that's a tenable way to go for this party, not just in this election, but it could damage them for years to come. They have to go with Harris. That's still my prediction. And if they choose not to, in spite of the president now endorsing her fully, I think it could create massive problems for them moving forward. We'll see. And we'll see if, in fact, she gets that nod and picks an interesting and compelling VP, Mike.
It is July 21st in an election year, so there's not a whole lot of time for negotiating or horse trading.
Yeah.
Kevin Cork doing a great job.
Yep.
Kevin, thanks so much.
You bet.
Now I'd like to...
Willie Cauley-Stein called him their X Factor on Friday. Just said